Out of Tampa, Kevin Sibley is with us, and Kevin will also speak. We have ASAC Hector Colon with us, Group Supervisor Louis Aquino. We have Lieutenant Isaac Jackson from the Haines City Police Department, Chief Roy Whitehead from the Snellville Police Department in Georgia. We have with us from HSI Atlanta, the Group Supervisor Thomas Cadwalder. And Border Patrol, we have Patrol Agent in Charge Glenn Lindell and Javier Lopez. And you go, why all these people? Because all of these agencies and more were involved in this operation. This was an extensive operation. So I want to start by laying out for a few minutes how significant this investigation was. As you know, I've been with the Sheriff's Office my entire adult life, and this is the largest methamphetamine seizure in the history of the Polk County Sheriff's Office. And the largest seizure included 1,342 pounds of liquid methamphetamine. It was transported in buckets like these. Now, I want to make sure everyone understands that Home Depot is where America shops, to include the dope users, okay? So obviously Home Depot didn't have anything to do with this other than they sold the 5-gallon buckets that transported this drug. 1,342 pounds or 120 gallons of liquid meth. In addition to that seizure, we also seized 63 kilos of crystal meth and 25 pounds of THC gummy bears and hard candy. Did you hear what I said? You know, that low-level, nonviolent, marijuana-related drug that was supposed to be legalized only for the very sickest, and they just happened to make it in gummy bear and hard candy. 25 pounds of it was coming to this county and ultimately would have been marketed to your children. In addition to that, there was 2,544 Xanax pills seized as well. We're going to give you the details in a few minutes. But the street value on all of this is about $54 million. Let me underscore that, $54 million. And we're going to talk just a minute about some of the cartels. And we're going to explain to you why one of the cartels is not very happy today, because their folks got caught with a whole lot of drugs, so the cartel lost a lot of drugs. And in addition to that, they're going to jail for a long time. But let me give you a history lesson for just a minute and take you back. The Juarez cartel is operated by Pablo Ledesma. And obviously he's from Juarez, Mexico. This is an old cartel. It was established by Pablo a long time ago and are those who came before him. Pablo is currently wanted by the federal government. In fact, there is a $2 million bounty for his arrest. That's right. Any of you watching today would like some money? The federal government will give you $2 million to tell them where Pablo is. Then there's the Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloa cartel is a larger cartel than the Juarez cartel. And you know this, it's a household name in drug running. El Chapo Guzman runs that cartel. El Chapo is currently residing in a federal prison in the state of New York. But his cartel's still alive and well. So what's what do we need to know about those two cartels? First and foremost, they're at war with each other. The Sinaloa cartel is trying to take over the Juarez cartel. They are in the process of murdering each other and murdering other people and murdering innocent people that get in the way. They're doing things such as decapitating. They're hanging the opponents from bridges by the neck to make sure that they send the message of how serious they really are. The operation we're going to talk to you today is drugs that came from the Juarez cartel. We call it Operation Dirty Water. And here's how it began. On January the 8th, we had a mail package that was sent from Ontario. This is a multi-country operation. This package flowed down to a reception center in Tennessee and then ultimately was to be delivered in Winter Haven, Florida. In that package were 2,544 Xanax pills that were coming to Amber Cason. Working with our federal partners, once the drugs were intercepted, it was sent to us. We set up a controlled delivery, and ultimately we arrested Amber, and you see her on the wall here. From that, on January the 14th, when the delivery was made, the next step in this operation was on March 13th, when 26 pounds of meth was delivered to our undercover agents by Jennifer Mears from Stone Mountain, Georgia. That's right. All right, are you ready for this? Because you can't make this stuff up. I didn't start out with once upon a time in a land far away, because it's true, even though it seems like it should be some kind of horrible fairy tale. She was released from federal prison for a 10-year stretch on January the 20th of this year. And on March the 13th, she's delivering meth in Florida while she's still on 5 years of probation. Did you hear what I said? I didn't stutter at all. We have information that she was immediately delivering and carrying meth for the Juarez cartel just as soon as she got out of prison. So that 10 years in federal prison didn't slow her down at all. The fact that she was on probation and not supposed to leave Georgia didn't make any difference to her at all. She's a bad girl. Now she's an arrested girl. But she wasn't arrested on the 13th. When she delivered the drugs, she left. And then on March the 29th, Jennifer was to deliver 35 pounds more of meth to us. But a series of issues occurred. The psychic in Georgia said, I don't think it's a good time to go to Florida. Quite frankly, when Jennifer Mears went to the psychic who warned her not to come to Florida, she forgot to ask one question, because the psychic was right. It's not a good time to come to Florida. She didn't ask the psychic what the lottery numbers were for the week, because the psychic was right on. But she still wanted to make the drugs available, so she said, well, you can come up here and get them. So we worked with our local police departments and obviously HSI, and let me underscore that HSI is simply the very best. So we went up there and we obtained, with HSI and with our local police departments, the 35 pounds of meth. It was in her truck, parked across the street from the landscaping company where she worked. And she had us pick it up while she was out doing a landscaping job in another area. You follow that? So she was not around. So where did this drug come from? Where did this person that's still on federal probation, straight out of prison, get this 35 pounds and 26 pounds? Well, she got it from a guy by the name of Isidoro Palacios. Isidoro Palacios is a bad man. He's listed on the wall too. Isidoro Palacios is associated directly with the Juarez cartel. He's been in trouble before. At that time, we arrested Jennifer on March the 30th, and we arrested Jennifer on the previous delivery of drugs in Florida. Now let's go to April the 5th. Search warrants are executed at Isidoro Palacios' houses, 2 different locations, by HSI and the local police agencies. Isidoro has a house on Stonewell Tell Road in College Park, and another one that they hit on Westbrook Road in Union City, Georgia. They seized another 77 pounds of methamphetamine. In addition to that, they broke up a cockfighting ring. That's right, along with smuggling drugs for the Juarez cartel, he had a cockfighting operation going on there. So let's go to April 8th. Luis Martinez was arrested by the Henry County Police and HSI with 1,342 pounds of liquid meth and 14 firearms. Luis, newsflash, is in this country illegally, and this is what he's doing. He's in this country illegally, bringing this drug to your children. How do you like that? How do you like him smuggling 1,342 pounds or 120 gallons of liquid meth across the border? Then he's drying it out into the crystal form and giving it to your children, and he's here illegally. You like that? Well, when these Border Patrol agents are putting their life on the line at that border every day, that's what they're trying to stop from coming into this country. So don't believe that crap you're seeing on the evening news about there's no crisis at the border. There's crisis at the border. It's in the form of children. It's in the form of drugs that they're coming to infect our children with. But it's not over yet. There were more search warrants executed. And when we went to Herndon Road with HSI and the local authorities, we didn't find any narcotics at that house, but here's what we found. We found Crescencio Loza. He had 2 stolen firearms. That's illegal. He's in this country illegally. That's illegal. And he was the one that had the tunnels. The tunnels where all of this was to be stored as we're told, as soon as it was taken from a liquid form back into a crystal form. Now, I want you to keep in mind, so we have meth, we have pills, we have illegal folks, we have firearms, we have stolen firearms, we have murder, we have torture. I want to bring to your attention, and I'm going to say this a couple of times, much to the chagrin of some and the delight of most. There is this drumbeat across this country that this is a low-level, nonviolent drug. This is a low-level, nonviolent crime. Explain that to the Lebanon family, where the two twins that were 8 months old were murdered, where the 8-year-old and the 12-year-old, or the 10 and 12-year-old children were murdered, where mom was murdered in Sonora, Mexico, by these drug dealers. Explain that to the families of the people that are hanging by their neck from the bridges in Mexico over the gang war. You know, there would not be any gang wars and fights if there wasn't a market in the United States and around the world for this stuff. So the next time someone tells you that this is all low-level, nonviolent, know a couple of things. Either one, they're totally ignorant. Two, they were born and lived their entire life under a rock. Three, they're misleading you at best and lying to you about the danger of drugs, from the use of your children right on up to the trafficking amount. Well, there's one guy on the pictures here we haven't talked about yet. Brian Thomas Stanton, he's 37. Guess where Brian Thomas Stanton resides today? Home sweet home in Georgia, the federal penitentiary. That's right. Brian Stanton's home is the federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia. He was the mastermind of this entire operation from federal prison. Did you hear that? Did you hear what I just said? This is not a horrible fairy tale, it's the truth. This guy organized and set up all of this operation from Home Sweet Home, the federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia. Isn't it nice that that's where he resided, since heck, Atlanta is reported to be the meth distribution center for the Southeast United States for the gangs out of Mexico. I'm a little passionate about this. It's not just because it's Thursday morning. It's because members of law enforcement are putting their life on the line every day to protect the community, and more importantly, once again, to protect your children from getting access to this very dangerous, deadly drug. We'll accept questions, but before we do that, once again, I want to introduce to you one of my colleagues who has a great deal of experience in law enforcement at the federal level, is a professional in the truest sense of the word, and because of his leadership and his eagerness to help us with this operation, and because we partner across city, county, state, and federal lines, this is how this happens. Because this is an international drug smuggling operation that came all the way down to your child in Polk County, Florida. Make no mistake about it. all of this drug here was not destined for Polk County, just a piece of it. And then because of HSI, because of the leadership of these professionals that are here with me today and others who couldn't make it, we were able to take this from the street level all the way back to the distribution point. And I'm still shocked that this guy could do it and mastermind it while he's locked up in federal prison.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Sibley. I'm the acting special agent in charge for Homeland Security investigations in Tampa, Florida. As the sheriff said, this case could not have been possible without tremendous interagency cooperation at all levels of the government, from city, county, state, and the federal government. This case started pretty simply with a package intercepted in New York City by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. That package was referred to my office in Tampa, and it was assigned to our Border Enforcement Security Task Force, or BEST. One of our task force officers, a United States Border Patrol agent, immediately made contact with the Polk County Sheriff's Office and the local drug task force operating here. And within 3 days of that package being intercepted, enforcement operations were happening here in Polk County. Now, as many of you know, enforcement operations are not the end of an investigation, they're very often the beginning of one. And that's exactly what happened here. Based on the information we gleaned from the enforcement operations here in Polk County and the seizures and arrests that made here, we were able to identify additional leads in Georgia. We referred those leads to our HSI office in Atlanta, where, working with our organized crime drug enforcement task force partners in southeast Georgia, or southern Georgia, we're able to do the other enforcement operations and make the arrests and seizures that the sheriff spoke about. This is an ongoing investigation, and hopefully we'll be able to come back to you soon and talk about additional enforcement actions, additional arrests, additional seizures. But this is just the beginning of what we think is a much larger case potentially. But it really is a textbook case of interagency coordination and cooperation. As the sheriff mentioned, we started a case looking at counterfeit Xanax pills, a prescription drug. We look at that as a health and safety issue because of the counterfeit nature of the pharmaceuticals. But it also shows that Xanax is tied to meth, is tied to marijuana, is tied to criminal activity, illegal guns, felons. It's a significant public safety threat. And so we follow every lead, and it's only through our task force partners, our law enforcement relationships, that this is possible. This was an outstanding outcome and is really the textbook case, I think, for future operations. Thank you very much.
Here's where it all started, with the work of the federal government with these pills. And it led to this, and it led to that. And it was ultimately going to lead to the doorstep in Polk County to children. Any questions?
How many people were arrested in total? How many people were arrested in total, and then how many of those were arrested in Polk County?
We'll have to add them up for you. I didn't, they're on the walls here. But not that many. What, 8? Something like that? 6? How many is on that chart? 6 over there.
Any Polk County folks?
The lady from Winter Haven on Exercise Avenue in Winter Haven. 1. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Is this the accurate amount of buckets that it would have taken?
That's the accurate amount of buckets. Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me, cartel presence is expanding in Central Florida? What are the trends?
No, this is normal everyday operation across the United States. They're smuggling this drug in across the border hand over fist. And they're smuggling it in by the hundreds of gallons, and because it's easier to smuggle in a liquid form. And then they bring it to locations and they dry it out and they return it to the crystal form. And then they distribute it down to major distributors, local distributors, and then street sales of drugs. The beautiful work by this team, I mean, this, as Kevin said, that this is a snapshot of how investigations work every day. So, yeah, we got this. Some of the people in the Juarez operation are mad, and I can tell you Jennifer Mears fear that someone will kill her for losing the dope. Well, I hope not. She's locked up. We're going to try to send them all to prison for a long time. But she's messing with some very dangerous people when you're carrying this kind of dope for these kind of violent, murderous gangs. Yes, ma'am.
You said you had an undercover. How long were they on that assignment?
That started in January. It was a very short investigation, and it began with HSI's interception of these pills. You see, when the folks on the street are using meth, it's very caustic and it's very harsh. They use Xanax pills, they use marijuana to kind of calm it down, or as they say, take the edge off of it. So it's not unusual. In fact, more times than not, in fact, I don't know of a time that we don't see somebody with meth, with a meth pipe, that they don't have marijuana or some pills, usually marijuana, to cut the causticness of the meth.
You said that only some of this was likely going to be distributed in Polk County. Do you know where the rest of it would have gone?
Atlanta is known as the distribution hub of at least the Southeast United States, and it would have been distributed all over the United States. You see, this started with pills. When we intercepted the pills, we were able to work to the meth. And then we, in an undercover capacity, ordered up the meth. It didn't just come here. It was in Atlanta. But we're working the investigation to find out where this operation goes, because this drug does not originate here. So we purchased this in an undercover capacity to figure out where the rest of this operation was occurring. So no, this was not destined for Polk County. We arrested the people. They were willing to send it here. They wanted to establish conduits into the county, and we were our undercover detectives were their new operation in Central Florida. Surprise, with the cops. Okay?
You mentioned Haines City. How was Haines City?
Haines City is part of the task force, the HIDTA task force. It was the Polk County Sheriff's Office HIDTA task force. The police departments, both city and county police departments in the Georgia metro area. HSI was our umbrella authority and actually was involved in the investigation from the very beginning and allowed us to get a toehold in this with them. But that's what we do every day. That's what you don't see. You see this garbage on the local news, and you don't see what's really happening. You don't really see the men and women that are protecting your children. You don't see good America. You just see flashpoints of what's occurring around the country. But this is what we're doing behind the scenes every day to keep you safe. And I must tell you, most of the drug arrests we make are not newsworthy. The media doesn't show up for them. We don't even bother anymore. It has to be one of this magnitude before it's newsworthy, because just the few kilos of meth we take off week in and week out, that doesn't make the news anymore. But we're doing all that all the time in addition to these major operations. This is a major transnational narcotics investigation, and the largest the sheriff's office has ever been involved with as far as volume of drugs and street value. I've told you everything that I can, but stand by for news. There's always another investigation around the corner. God bless you. Have a good weekend. See you later.